Okay, so just to summarize, so other than the points that I've mentioned, there's many other factors that relate to South Korea's economic growth. But just to characterize some of its feature, it had rapid and sustained economic growth for multiple years, multiple decades. Rapid growth of exports was important. There was also rapid demographic transition. So some one aspect in development is that we see initially high levels of fertility in an agricultural society, but then fertility level drops drastically in more advanced societies, and that transition happened rapidly in South Korea. People saved a lot, and government invested back into the economy, so building machines, building factories, etc. And as we talked about, high levels of human capital growth, educational attainment. So that's a brief summary, and hopefully that motivates you to think about this issue furthermore. And there's many aspects that one can look into. But at this point, I want you to think about, okay, how transferable are these policies to developing countries right now? Because that's sort of the motivation of studying South Korea's economic growth. One thing you have to realize is the international context is very different back then and now, right? It was under the Cold War. The markets were more, so for instance, Korean suppliers were easily able to export to US markets. Now there's much more competition throughout different countries. Also back nowadays there's these trade agreements that sometimes limit what firms can do, different types of agreements compared to back then in terms of, like for instance, Korea would levy high levels of tariffs on US goods back then, but we can't do that right now. So these are things that one needs to think about when thinking about what policies are transferable.